Hi guys, welcome back. In this exercise we're going to look at methods and how to write a method, and we'll also delve into classes as well. To get this working, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop on a couple of controls, write a simple one here. I'll bring out a text box. I'll need that for input. I'll actually call it txt input. Okay, I'll take out the word text box from that. I'll also need a button. I'll click on the button control and put on a button here. And this will just start this. I'll call this calculate. And I'll name the button btn cal. And lastly, what I'll do here now is cal, and the last thing I'll do here now is put on a text block control here, just to output the one here. I'll just take out the word text block, and I'm going to call this LBL display. Okay, so there's my small program, and what I want to do is write a method that actually, when I input something here like inches, that it will calculate and show me how many feet and inches there are in it. So again, all the action will go behind the calculate button. Okay, I'll just make this a little bit bigger there so you can see what I'm doing. So with the calculate button here, the first thing I'll have to do is take in the input. So I'll assign a variable for that. I'll make it an int variable, and I'll call it input. Okay, or inches, or inches input. Inches input. Okay, and I'm going to set that to int. Again, we would have done this before. The int.parse, I want to parse in whatever was in the text box, so that will be txt input.text. Okay, so now I have my what has been inputted. Okay, I'm going to create two more variables here. I'm going to create an int variable called feet. What I'm going to do is, before we get the method going, I'm just going to do this logically first here behind the button, and then we'll make a method out of it, and we'll put that into a class. Okay, so I have input int feet, and I'm going to set that to, so again, if somebody typed in 75 inches, again 12 into 75, so it'll be input inches, or sorry, inches input. Let's see. Bit back there. Inches input divided by 12. Okay, now this will give me the amount of feet. I also want to find out the amount of inches as well, so I'll declare another variable for that. And I'll just call this inches. Sorry, it'll be an int variable, and I'm going to set this to again, it's going to be the remainder here, the remainder of that, so it'll be input inches, or inches, inches input modulus 12, and this will give me the required amount of or the remainder from the initial one here. Again, if I want to output that, I'm going to use string format here to do that. So I'll, in LBL display .text, I'm going to set this to string string.format. Okay, and here I'll put in the amount of feet first. Okay, so it'll be 0. Sorry, my inverted commas. Okay, feet and so many inches. Here, oops. Okay, and we'll close that and put in our variables of feet and inches. Just inches there on that. Okay. So that's how I just change this to. Actually, I misspelled it up here, so that's how I see. Put in my E there. Okay, that'll sort that. Okay, typing and talking, yeah, that's it. Okay, so if we look at that, again we have an input, and again we divide by 12 to get the feet, and modulus 12 to get the inches. And here I'm displaying it out in the in string format in the label. Okay, so let's run this now in our emulator and check to see how it looks. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to type in, say, 75. Okay, and by typing in 75, sorry, I'll just get this back here. 5. Okay, just run a bit slow. 75, calculate, and you can see there 6 feet 3 inches. Okay, that's okay. Let's go back here. I'm going to stop debugging. And again, there is the idea of a method is that you don't have a ton of code that's all behind your button here. Okay, the idea is just to call the method whenever you want it. Okay. Plus, as well, the other idea of the method is that it can be reused throughout your program. Okay, again, whether you decide to make it public or private. So let's look at how a method is. In order to declare the method, again, I'll declare it inside of this class here. Okay, so I'm in the main class, the one here, and so inside of this class, okay, I must come outside of the button itself. Okay, so you can see here, I'm in the class, but this brace here is closing off the namespace, and this brace is closing off the class. Now with this one, what I want to do is return this, which is a string. So again, my type of one here. So again, I'm going to make this private. So private string. Okay, this refers to the return type. So the private refers to the that it can only be used in this class. The string refers to the return type. Okay, and now I'll give it a name. I'll say cal or convert to feet. Okay, which is a method. Okay, and we'll have an opening brace and a closing brace. So my code I want to execute here. Now again, in order to do a calculation to return this, we need to pass in something. So what do I want to do? I want to pass in a variable, and that will be an int value, and we'll give this inches. Inches there. Okay, and really what I want to do now is I'm going to cut this out. Cut this, because it's going to be the same code, and put this into my method. Okay, so you can see here. Now again, the next thing I need to do now is to have a return type. Okay, and that return type will be so return. So that would be I'm returning a string. So what I'm doing is I'm returning this string up here. So again, okay, what I'm going to do here, actually, just to make things a little bit easier, I'll just string else, just declare a string here, a string variable, string ret for the want of a better word, and set it to that, and then return ret. Okay, now again you can see here I have a few things here, a few red lines on this. Again, input inches. If I mouse over it, you can see that the name input inches does not exist in the current context. Okay, so what I can do is, again, because it's in the context of button cal, I can move it up into the class itself. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, I'm just going to do this to sort this one out here. Just show you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take input inches and actually just call or just initialize the variable at the top of the class here, so that scope wise it will be available to everything inside of the thing. Again, once I do that, there's no need for the int here. I've declared it up here, and what I'm doing is just initializing it here in the button. However, down here again I've declared int inches here, and so therefore there's no need for me to have the int there. Again, I'm just initializing it here. Okay, so let's have a look at that. So in order to, again, when I click the button, okay, all I've done is initialized input inches. So now to use the class here, to use this class, what I'm going to do now is, again, call the class, okay, our LBL display, or sorry, just call the class, really, we'll do this. Yes, I'm going to call the class, but before I call the class, again, it requires an input value like inches here. So what I'm going to do is I'm also going to declare int inches up here at the top. Again, so it's available. I won't run into scope problems here when it comes to putting in values or passing values here. Okay, so all I need to do now is call the method, which is con to feet, and again what needs to get passed into that is inches. Okay, so let's so again, the beauty of this is, again, if you look here, just tidy this up, that all I have now is just 2 lines of code in behind the button click event. One is actually initializing input inches, and the other one then is just displaying or calling this method below. Okay, so let's run this in the emulator to see. We should get exactly the same result. Okay, so let's this is where I was, calculate, and you can see there 6 foot 3 inches, just to show you there again, so 70. Okay, again, this 5 foot 10 inches. So you can see there it's working exactly the way as if I had had the whole piece of code behind this. Okay, I'll stop debugging here for a second, and we'll just do one more thing here, and that is if I were to use a different class for this altogether. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to come up here beside methods exercise, okay, mouse over that, okay, and just right click and add a class. Again, we'll get more of these classes as we move on, and I'm just going to call this, I can call it as I like, I'll just call it my methods for the time being. And I'll click add, and you can see there it just adds a new class. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this method here. Okay, I'm just going to copy it. Okay, so get that copied. Okay, and while I have it selected here, I'm just going to comment it out as well. Comment it out. Okay, so let's go back to my methods here, and I'm just going to paste this class in here. Okay, now again, we can see here, I just have a few things here. The first issue I have here is where variables were declared and something like that. The other thing here is it's a private. Again, if I want this to be available to the whole application, I have to make it public. Okay, so I have a public con to inches there now, con to feet. Okay, so let's take care of a few things here now. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is take input inches. Again, we can see here on my main page CS here that I've declared input inches up here at the top. Okay, as an int, and if I come back to my methods here, you can see there I have a return. I'm returning a string. Okay, so it's expecting to see a string there. Okay, again, LBL text that doesn't exist in this format. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this out, and I'm just going to return, okay, the string format here. Okay, so just bear me there once. Okay, so you can see there I'm returning, the first thing I'll do is return string format. Notice I've just taken out the variable there. Again, the input inches doesn't exist here as a value here, so I'm just going to declare it here. Inches input. Again, this is just a tad messy at the moment, but don't worry about that. I could clear this up as we go forward. Okay, so there we are, tidied up now. As you can see there, I've just declared inches input here at the top, and looking at my public method now. Again, I'm passing in inches. That's all I want to pass in. Declaring feet, again, inches input divided by 12 inches, and then inches input for the return of that, and then the remainder of that, and then returning the string. Okay, so I need to go back over to my main page and just tidy this up. If I look at okay, again, I can delete this out if I want, just to show you how neat it will be. Again, cont inches. Let's type this out now. First, the first thing I'm going to do is instantiate the class that I've just created. And if you look over here on the right, you can see I've called my methods. So again, just like we instantiated the random class in the previous one, I'll instantiate my method. So once I start typing it in, there's my method, my methods. I'll give it a name, M, and set that to a new keyword, my methods. And okay, so now once I've brought in the my methods class into this, I can now use it anywhere I like. So again, in this class, so again, I've called it M, so M, okay, dot, there's my con to feet, okay, which is a method, terminate the line, and all I need to do now is pass into that. Again, I can pass in inches or now note here, what I'm doing is I'm just saying inches here, but really what I should be doing is putting in input inches, okay, because that's what the value is. So, or sorry, inches input is what I'm looking for here. Okay, inches input. Okay, now this is going to work. Now you might be wondering, well, you're passing in input inches here, but yet in this one you have int inches. Again, I'll cover this again when we're going over classes, but again, it doesn't. I don't really, what I'm passing here is a value. I'm giving that a value on the other side. Okay, so let's run this code and test it again. So I'll just use the same figures here, 75, calculate. Okay, so you can see there I have LBL text set to cont inches. So let's just run that again, see that everything's okay. Okay, I'll type in 75. Okay, no feet, no inches. Let me just test that. Something wrong here. Okay, so you're just going to tidy this up a little bit more here. Again, int input inches, which means I won't need this anymore. Okay, I should have done this from the start. Okay, okay, so there's my method, input inches. If I just change the input to input inches, and just run this again, test that out. Okay, type in 75 and 6 foot 3 inches. Okay, or type in 70. Okay, 5 foot 10 inches. Okay, but really, apart from whether the calculation works or not, really what we're talking about is we have the a class, or sorry, a method created in its own class. and if we come back here, that we are instantiating that class here with this line of code, okay, and then just calling the class, and calling the class, calling the method from the class, which requires an input, which we've got from here, and that will work just fine. Okay, thank you for your attention.